small select group, which is always well and good. And our subject for this evening is all things, oh, here comes Brian, all things banking. So who wants to start us off on the comprehensive subject of all things banking?
Just to say, I'm back, but I still can't get my camera working, so you'll have to not see what I look like.
Well, hopefully we can correct that at a later time, but I think we can survive with it for now. Brian, you've got both your microphone and your camera turned off. Brian? Well, I don't know if you're saying anything because you've got your microphone turned off.
Is there anybody there?
Hang on. We're on to it. How's that?
I can hear you. I can just hear you. You're very quiet, but I can hear you and see you now. Right, okay. Right.
Good,
so we can hear Vaughan, we can't see him, but we can hear everybody. So banking and all matters banking. Who wants to start us off?
Right. Well, I'll throw my bit in. I'm Jim Cottle. I'm treasurer of one or two community organisations, including things like the Village Hall in Scorton and the Methodist Chapel and one or two other things. They're all incredibly old accounts. And of course, being a registered charities, you always need 2 signatures as things stand. During lockdown, I spent some happy hours talking to different people at NatWest, trying to get them to put us onto an internet only sort of system. And what do we do about this 2 signatures job? And all these different people kept disappearing and we never heard back from them. And eventually I almost committed suicide. So basically I gave up. And so we're really thinking, well, do we just set up a new account in a new bank? There are various online things, aren't there? How do we get around this charity business? And what's the best way forward? It's very simple, really.
Okay.
That's my problem.
One thing, James, when you say being a registered charity, we have to have 2 signatories.
Well, traditionally, and according to the current banking arrangements, we have to have 2 signatories.
Okay, so according to your bank. Anne, were you going to say something on that one?
Well, I was going to say, presumably NatWest don't do the 2 signatories.
Well, they do, yes, but they're not online. None of these accounts are. Now you can't do anything online.
Okay.
Right.
And it just makes you split.
Well, there are banks that do.
There are. So what? I mean, is it Unity or something, and various other ones that I know some other parishes around here use. And I'm looking into it. But when this thing came up, I thought, right, well, somebody will have some pearls of wisdom.
Well, I can just give you a very quick one on Grimser, if I may.
Right.
You certainly don't have to have 2 signatories because you're a charity. That's not a requirement. And the account that we have gone with for our Village Hall now is Santander's treasurer account, which, as the name would imply, is set up basically and designed around societies and charities and things like that.
Yeah.
We do everything online. You can, I don't actually know even with Santander if you can have 2 electronic signatures. Some village halls and charities actually prefer it. They want it. We didn't.
Yeah. No.
We don't need it. We actually use debit cards. Me and the treasurer have a debit card.
Well, that's another thing, you see. Yeah. We haven't got anything like that, so you can't do anything.
Right.
Really.
Just stay on that, Annie. When we got the grant from LAF at Barton, they will only pay the grant to a charity or organisation that is operating the bank account on 2 signatories. They wouldn't pay it to anybody with a 1 signatory account.
Well, they did.
Oh, right, okay.
That I don't remember that being anywhere in the paperwork for LAF as a requirement.
It is in the paperwork they sent to us for sure. Yeah.
I understood that to change from two out of several signatures or to 1, you would need some sort of resolution at an AGM or equivalent, a formal resolution by the organisation. I may be wrong, but that's what I understood.
You might. I mean, we put it to our committee to say, are you happy to change to this bank? And they all just went, yeah.
Yeah. That's just the committee.
That's all there is.
Not an AGM.
We never get anybody turn up anyway. Our committee basically is it. Yeah.
Yes.
Sean's
Can I
red up
just,
there, yeah.
can I just say, we use Santander
Yep.
at Salisbury. We have treasurer's accounts, but
Mm.
they've been set up many, many years ago. I'd say best part of 20 years ago. And
Yeah.
we just have a current account and then 2 savings accounts.
Oh, wow.
Now, the majority of the committee of the signatories all resigned en masse 3 years ago. So we did 2 years ago, sorry. So we did have some issues and it took a while to get sorted, so much so to pay money out of our own accounts to actually pay for the insurance, because we'd no choice, but it was done with the bank's knowledge they would reimburse us. But we're online, and I mean, that's excellent. If I do go into branch, we had a large donation the other week, I can only use the cash machines. I can't use the counter service in the branch. But other than that, it's working absolutely fine. We only need, I mean, I've not written a check, so, you know, but we do only need one person to agree any transactions.
Yeah. Yes. I'm just.
Can I just say, just out of interest, we're with Barclays and we do require 2 signatories, and you can do it online or we can do a check or whatever you want you can do. The problem is, of course, branches keep closing, but you don't really need a branch that close. The other thing that we've just managed to do, because this business of having debit cards we thought was going to be difficult because of the 2 signatories, but having kicked up a fuss largely on the back of the local branches closing and how on earth we were going to get cash out and all this sort of thing, because post offices needed a debit card to be able to get the cash. They've produced debit cards for us, which obviously a single person can use. So that works really well. So you've got both facilities. That's Barclays.
Yeah, we have 3 debit cards with us. The 3 signatories each have a debit card.
Right.
Well,
Teresa,
could I come
I've
in?
spotted you've got your hand up, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'd come in on 2 grounds in a way, partly because of LAVCH. We've had horrendous problems. I would say to anyone who's thinking of going down the 1 signature route, just think, what does your constitution say? Because you don't, if you're looking for grants, you don't want to find you're in breach of your constitution, and it may be, you know, your governing document may say that you need 2 signatories. But also, what happens, heaven forbid, if the 1 signatory drops off the perch? Because that's the part of the problem we've had with LAVCH. That was done by, originally, I think there were 3 signatories, possibly 4, and it was only 2 off. An earlier treasurer then hadn't updated things as members have died. And so we ended up with a situation where they got down to 2. One of them was housebound and 93, and he was the treasurer. And his good friend who lived down the road suddenly had a heart attack and died. So they then were down to 1 signatory, which kept causing problems. We then tried to get 3 more of us on. This is back in 2016. We're still in negotiations with RBS, which is now, of course, NatWest. And because branches have closed in between, and I mean, the latest thing is that they are now sending letters to Marcus Hill, who was the former chairman, at home, even though I pointed out to them that Marcus was never on the mandate, from what they tell me. And further, I also sent them an order of service from Marcus's funeral back in 2016. So I fully understand your situation, but that's perhaps the danger of going down.
Well, yeah, but
so maybe
Teresa, we're talking about signatures as in signatures on checks, not signatories. You can have multiple signatories,
yes,
but only require 1 signature on a check. Yes. And I think that's what we're talking about. Not getting away from that. I mean, we've accepted that we can have signatory as well. Sorry, signature, but we have multiple signatories.
Yes.
So any of, I think, Sean, you're on the mandate, aren't you? So I think it's me, Richard, you, Anthony. So there's 4 of us, to the best of my knowledge, who are signatories. Yes, and yes, I would certainly recommend having at least 4, at least, and keeping an eye on their state of health.
Well, again, let's be honest, there shouldn't be, but we all know that there are fraudsters out there, and things like village halls are quite susceptible to it, and parish councils.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And again, you've got to, I think we as trustees of our own individuals have to be aware that we're also protecting that asset.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what, yes, quite. But
One of the good things actually about being online is that any of the signatories can go online and can see,
interrogate the site, yes.
you can see what's happening, what payments are going out and where they're going, without having to be the person that still receives the paper copies, if you still get them, of the you know, the monthly statement and everything. So I think that's quite good actually.
Yeah. Right, no, that's fine. It's just yes.
Can I just come in? Sorry,
Yep.
that we've got the same problem. I'm from Slime with Hest Village Hall. I'm the treasurer there, but I've been trying to change because we're with Santander, but a really, I was going to use a bad word, but not a good account. Can't do anything with it really. So we decided we'd change to another one. I looked up NatWest, which is what I think. Sorry, is it James said he was trying to do, and I got halfway through applying, and it just suddenly seemed to go missing. So I'm not sure whether they scrapped me or something's gone wrong. But we have got this. We still have this problem where we have to have two signatures. Sorry, and I understood the NatWest Bank did have this thing where you could do that online. You could kind of tick it so that you know whatever, which is what I wanted to do. So sorry, is it Eileen? Is that what bank are you with? I forgot what you said.
The bank that we're with is Santander, and what we found was called their treasurer's account. The only thing I will say though, Vaughan, is we also set it up. We actually set up a new charity for our village hall. I think we got it registered 2 years ago because we changed to charitable incorporated organisation, and we went again with Santander. And it, if anything, was a bit more tricky setting up the second one. And I just got a general impression that they were wriggling a little bit with their willingness on that account, and whether or not they're finding that this, because it's fully free, it's completely, there's no charges for anything, and maybe they were just starting to think that it wasn't the best deal for them with charities that sometimes can have a lot of transactions, and of course they don't make any money out of it. I don't know, but
I think now on that island,
anyway, thanks.
You have to have a personal bank account with Santander before you can open a treasurer's account. So somebody on the committee or somebody there would need to have their own personal account first.
Well, I ticked that box because we did, I did tick that box because we do have, me and hubby, we've got our accounts with them as well. So that may well have been why they were happy to welcome.
Yeah, sure.
When we completed the mandate, 3 of us, 2 years ago, 2 people, they don't have Santander accounts. One of our signatories does.
Yeah. I think it only needs to be one. I think that's fine. Yeah, as long as we
No, it's the same with us. Richard doesn't have Santander at all, and I don't know, Sean, if you do, but the fact that I did, I got an impression the second time around, I got an impression that did help.
Yes.
Well, I would echo everything that Vaughan's finding at NatWest, because both RBS now has been taken, well, some time ago was taken over by NatWest, and the problems that we're having, and just complete intransigence. You get a letter from Everyday Banking, then you get a text, so you think, oh, an email, you think, oh, I can reply to that and maybe get somewhere, but the email facility doesn't let you respond to it. You know, it's not exactly customer focused, is it?
No.
Well, I must say we're with NatWest and we don't have any problems at all with them. That's to say, we don't really have much contact with them because we're on internet banking and it just works so well. Don't pay any charges and it just works like clockwork.
Oh, wow.
Right. I've not written a check yet in the last 2 years because we just use online banking.
Well, that's what we all want to do. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, checks are just a dead loss, really.
Yeah, it's so much easier, just the online banking, if you can manage to, secure an account that will have that facility.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and as I say, that's irrespective of if you do have a 2 signature requirement. Just find the right bank, because some of them do dual signature on transactions. One person sets it up and the second one has to go in to authorize it, so you can still have dual signatures.
Right, that's a thought, isn't it?
Not on the Santander treasurer's account though. They don't allow that.
No,
Santander doesn't. Okay.
No, I don't believe so. I'm sure we did actually ask about it. I mean, Richard just looked at each other and sort of made the comment along the lines of, do we really want that ball ache? No thanks. Yeah, I mean, we are in the lucky position that both me and Richard have been on the committee for a long time. So has Sian. In fact, virtually all of the committee have been around, most of this century, and we just trust each other. So, and I always make the joke of, if I screw up, sack me.
Yeah, I think you can be very trusting, though. I mean, when I was at work, we had a business within the practice, and somebody who'd worked there for years and years and years, and you would have staked your life on, was actually taking money out of the till. So
yeah, it does happen
Mm.
too frequently.
Why risk it? I would say,
because I've got better things to do than to fanny around doing dual signatures. You're absolutely right, though, Anne. You are absolutely right. It is a measured risk, but it's like absolutely everything to do with being a trustee. You choose the risks you're happy to take. Yeah, and if you're not happy with it, then don't do it. It's what suits each individual village hall and their circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a case today. We met with the gardener, me and Richard, and talked about the fact that there's assets of the ground maintenance that really aren't where we want them to be. And he just sort of said, the only way to get this stuff off the car park realistically is a pressure washer. And I looked at Richard, we had a bit of a chat, and I said, well, what's my budget then? And we agreed a budget of 150 quid. I picked the pressure washer up tomorrow, and I didn't have to take it back to the committee, and that means that we can just crack on. And whilst this guy is really keen and sort of using a bit of initiative to try and help us, we can do it.
That's nothing to do with the bank. That's to do with spending limits that you've agreed, which we have different people can spend up to a certain amount without.
Oh, okay. So you don't need dual signatories on everything then?
No, we're talking about the bank, aren't we, at the moment?
Well, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both, because I just use the debit card. Now, obviously, the debit card will actually allow me to spend anything.
No, well, we have agreed spending limits.
Right, okay.
People, it's up to 200. For, I think, between 200 and 500, you need the agreement of 2 members of the committee.
Right, okay.
And then maybe over 500, it needs to go to the committee, but we just do that by email and people respond.
Yeah.
And really, and it's not that frequent, and there's usually been a discussion about whatever's going to cost more than 500. It's only if something major breaks and you've got to do something.
Yeah.
As you say, Anne, because you've got the checks and balances, because all your signatories can look at it and understand what's happening. So therefore, that in itself is minimising fraud. So you've got your internal control there. I mean, I suppose there's the 2 aspects of it, aren't there? There's money going out and money coming in. And again, because I know you run a bar, it's then checking the cash, and it shouldn't be one person counting for their own sake either.
No. I must say, getting a card machine has transformed things there, because the cash is just tedious really now, counting, providing a float and what have you. So the card thing is really good.
Yeah.
Anne, can I just ask, how many people have cards at your village hall? Have a debit card?
Probably 4 of us, albeit that there's only 3 of us that are. Probably the treasurer doesn't actively use it because she tends to do the work at home, as it were, whereas the rest of us are the ones that are out, buying bar supplies or other supplies. So 4, I would say, probably.
Because we only have the chair with financial delegated, like a financial limit.
Oh, right.
But I don't know. I'm just wondering now why we've only got the chair.
Because you as a committee have decided that.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking we didn't think anything of it. But the chair can spend up to £250. That's their limit. Anything else has got to go before the committee, and yes, it could be done via email.
Well, I mean, we've even got the handyman on. He hasn't got a card, but he will go out and get stuff, say, I don't know, electrical stuff or whatever, or he can put stuff on our account at the local hardware shop, and he's got he's in the probably up to 200.
Right.
We have that situation with cleaners directly from the supplier that then invoices us directly. Yeah, it just all helps, doesn't it? Just smooths the wheels.
It's about how far you trust and who you trust, because it's easy to say, oh yes, we have a card limit of 200, but is that 200 a day? you know, you could easily rack it up in a week, couldn't you? If you were that type of person, as Anne said, in their practice.
Yeah.
You know, it's just building that trust together and knowing who can do what and who's worthy of trust.
We could probably do with having at least one more person. At the moment, there's only me and Richard have got cards. I would like to increase that by at least one. I'm thinking of the other person who's on the meeting with me now. It would certainly be a good idea maybe to get one for Sian as well, and maybe even Anthony too, particularly with me naffing off to Europe for 6 weeks at a time and not being around for farmers markets. So we probably ought to consider that.
The other thing that we do is that if we make a payment on our card, because we're not doing it that frequently, we usually just email the treasurer to say that we've done it, because obviously it will appear on the statement. So we let her know, you know, so I mean, it takes a minute to do that, but you know.
I either present him with the receipts as soon as I can, or if it's an online order, then yes, as soon as the thing comes through to me, the email is instantly forward onto Richard.
Right.
Who else has card machines? Is there any hall that doesn't have a card machine now?
We don't have a card.
No, I don't think we do. Scorton doesn't, no.
I would strongly recommend you think about it.
Yeah.
Well, it depends actually. For us, it was the same as you said, the bar. The bar is the thing where it really makes the difference.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
We've just got a second one so that we can have one on the door, like we had our lunch club today, and we have a film club. Most often, if we have a concert, people have already bought the tickets beforehand. But it transforms things really, because there's so much less cash. To deal with. And so,
you have charges on each transaction, Anne?
Sorry?
Are there charges on each transaction and the charge on the machine?
Probably is the answer to the answer.
Ours is just a percentage of anything taken. There's no additional charge at all. We have to buy the machine, but then it is just a percentage of what's taken. But we know very definitely that we more than make up for that by the people who purchase who would not have purchased, both at our farmers market cafe and at the bar. Particularly when they've had a few.
Yeah, I mean, at Salisbury, we don't have a bar and there's nothing to purchase because we don't run a cafe.
Right, well, in that case, there's less.
No, you wouldn't need it.
No, but
we don't have a bar, we don't have a machine either. But there's very little that people would spend it on using a cafe.
Right, okay.
Could I ask a question about that, please? So all our hirers pay by backs. That's great. But we do have 2 badminton groups that are run by previous trustees, and they charge people £4 to play badminton, and whether there's 6 people play or 10 people turn up on the night type of thing, and we get all the proceeds. So they don't pay for the room by the hour. This is something that these 2 trustees who are on the committee for many, many years organised. So we still allow them to pay by cash, and they put it in a little plastic wallet and they fill in a little slip and it's witnessed by somebody else. And then currently it is put through the letterbox, the chair's house.
I thought you meant the village hall.
Well, sometimes it is put in the letterbox at the village hall. So we've currently got this happened a couple of days ago. The chair has now said they don't want to take the money because it means going into the hall and going into the office and writing a little receipt to put it back in the badminton box and then wait for me to go to take it to the local post office at the spa. So it's a bit, well, it needs revamping. So the chair's just said in future, if it's given to me, I'll put it in the letterbox, then I don't have to go in the building. So I'm not happy with that.
So they do this every time they play, or is it they accrue it and then give it to you every 3 months?
Every time. So they play on a Tuesday evening, a Wednesday afternoon. 2 different ladies run it. One Susan on a Tuesday, Audrey on a Wednesday, who is a trustee.
Right.
So every week I get 2 little pouches, 2 little money bags with this loose change, pennies, 2 pence. You know, we don't want to do cash, but they've run it for so long and they want to continue running it, and it's for the benefit of the whole. So they're not paying, we charge £15 an hour for the main hall. So they're not paying us £30 for 2 hours. They're just giving, whether, like I say, it's 6 people who've turned up, 6 at £4, that's 24, or 10 people, and we get £40. So any ideas? Because I've got...
I played badminton at Clyton Village Hall, and until a couple of months ago, that was exactly the system we used. We paid, each person that turned up on the night paid cash.
Yeah.
The lady who basically organised it collected the cash, put so much in an envelope, and left it for Clyton Village Hall in the kitchen in the village hall. They've had a slight change at the village hall now, and our system for playing badminton is exactly the same. But the lady that collects it all now just pays, I'm not sure, it's either once a month or once a quarter, just by bank transfer to the village hall. Well, so that's from the village hall point of view, is being completely simplified.
Yes. Well, these 2 ladies who run it, certainly one of them doesn't do online banking.
Right. Okay.
You know, the Audrey is one of our trustees, may do online banking. I don't know. I need to speak to her. But the other lady who used to run the Wednesday afternoon, she's recently not stepped down, but she's not organising it the same. But they were dead against online banking. They just don't do it for personal reasons, and they just like this little cash and this little slip of paper.
Yeah.
How am I going to convince them otherwise? I mean, I did think, yes, that they have to collect it from a Tuesday afternoon session, from a Wednesday afternoon session, and give it to me once a month. Yeah. So they can have the paperwork to say, yes, I've counted it, and yes, it's been witnessed, and I just get it once a month, and I go to the post office then. I think on a quarterly basis, it may stretch it a bit too far.
Yes, yeah, to keep track of.
You know, and also we want to know what income we've received on a monthly basis. So, you know, well, I did think that may be the only option, unless anybody's got any other suggestions, please.
We have several groups that operate, as you said, people just pay £2 when they go.
Yeah.
And in all those situations, or most of them, the person that's within their group is responsible for the money, just gathers it together and then periodically either gives us the cash or pays by backs, whatever their you know, personal preferences really. And it just seemed to cause a problem really. You don't get a receipt, I have to say.
No.
Right. You know, because the longer it goes on, then there's all these £2.
I think, I think just concurring with what Anne said then, really it's what you suggested, Wendy. See.
Sorry, you're breaking up, Eileen.
Yeah. Oh, am I? Oh.
Yeah.
Not a lot I can do about that.
Could you just repeat what you said, please?
Well, I would just agree. Wendy, see if they'll go for a compromise. And
We missed that.
Hold on.
We just keep a cash book, and all the cash that we collect, I put it in a book. And then sometimes if I'm spending money, say on Amazon or something like that, and use our own personal credit card, I just make a debit in the cash book. And
I mean, we don't keep petty cash. I just stopped that.
It's in our safe. It's all.
Yeah. You know, it was just I spent the petty cash, the exact amount, and that's it. We've never dealt with it since.
Right.
A lot of people do.
A lot of people pay by cash.
Yeah.
And a lot of it transfers. five lots of cash up a week.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, we do have a bit of cash usually. Our treasurer has a bit of cash for floats and things. Do you have any events where you have a float?
No, I don't have a float.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't.
I can understand where Sean's coming from, because actually people giving you pound coins and £5 notes in particular are really helpful in my experience. Particularly, as I say, now there aren't the banks so easily available to go and get cash from.
Keep hold of it for that purpose. But if you don't need any floats for anything, then
no, it doesn't help, does it?
No.
We even have people.
Am I any clearer now? I've actually just changed devices. I've changed from my laptop to my iPad. Am I still breaking up?
No, you're clear.
I can't see you at the moment, but I
I'm
can't.
struggling to hear you.
Oh well, sorry.
Right. No, you were much better. Right.
Much clearer.
Yes.
Right. Well, your complexion's changed.
Just a different device, that's all. Right. So what else on banking then? Who else has got a conundrum of any sort?
Presumably nobody pays any bank charges, do we?
No.
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 That's interesting. That is interesting, actually. So nobody. Oh, right. Okay. I wonder if that's because we've all got nice banks that give special dispensations to charities. Because we're all businesses.
Barclays call it a community account, the one we've got.
Right. Okay. I ought to read out what Simon said. Sorry. He did. Bless him. He's such a devotee, Simon. He couldn't attend because he's preparing. He was preparing for a gala, but he did send through a quick synopsis on his banking arrangements, which I ought to just at least let everybody know. So what he has, he is NatWest Bankline for communities. Sounds like that's similar to somebody else's. And they have signing rules for all transactions that two people must authorise a payment. So there's one bank that does the dual signatory online. This generally works well for us, but whenever we make a change to our account, NatWest are particularly poor at doing things correctly. However, we have found this good, as if you raise an official complaint, they give a goodwill gesture by the 200 or 250 pounds. And so far, we have £700. The main reason we stick with them is Free Agent, which he showed us all at a previous meeting. Free Agent accounting software is included for free, which is fantastic software, gives great insights into how our finances are doing, etc., and does the invoices fairly easily and sends good nagging reminders to overdue invoices, etc. Their app allows you to pay checks in by photo, which is good for the handful of checks we get these days.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That was what I was trying to open. That account was what I was trying to open. That account that you're talking about was what I was trying to open, and it sort of died on me somewhere. But
it sounds like it might be worth another go.
Yeah.
Can I ask about hiring and deposits and things? Do people get hirers to pay directly bank transfers into the bank, their deposits, and they refund them the same way?
Yeah.
We don't take deposits.
No,
well, apart from a big do, a wedding reception or something.
Yeah.
But the deposit really isn't. Well, we don't really take anything that's refundable. I don't think. We would always just put it against the final thing. I think maybe once we don't do many weddings, but we just decided that deposits was just a waste of time, and people were faffing around until the 11th hour changing what they wanted, and extra bits they wanted or they didn't want or whatever. So, and we've probably been very fortunate, but
probably have.
Yeah, I would say you have there, Anne.
Yeah, I think probably very fortunate.
It is getting quite a cumbersome thing between you and Richard, isn't it? You constantly having to ask him to refund, because at the moment our hall is operating mainly at the weekends, isn't it? It's all of the functions, which is obviously all of your time and effort. So we might have to try to see if there isn't some other way we can do that. I don't know what it is. But we'll maybe have to have a bit of a think, unless somebody out there has got a bright idea.
No, I mean, our hirers just pay when they make the booking, and then they pay a £100 special deposit if it's an adult party within 7 days of the event, and then as long as there's no damage, it's reimbursed by banks.
Yeah.
We asked for the deposit to secure the booking at the time of booking, whether that be a month before or 6 weeks or 12 months before. We asked for a deposit which secures the booking. Then the higher fee a month before their event, and then if everything's left okay at the hall, we'll refund the deposit. All of it, maybe some of it, maybe none of it.
Yeah, so we just do it the other way around with the booking fee first and then the deposit.
Yeah.
So what do you do if people cancel?
If people cancel and they've got a good reason for cancelling, then the chair, who's the booking secretary, we reimburse them.
Yeah, we have sort of our terms and conditions, and it depends on the house, so how much notice as to what they get back, if anything.
Right.
I mean, in COVID times, that was
and sometimes people misrepresent, don't they? We had one at our village hall, excuse me, at Salisbury, who booked an 80th birthday party. We'd had them the year before, and it's been a bit messy, but no real problem. We had the police ring us up the day of the event. It was an indoor rave.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And yeah, police wouldn't go in because, as they said, if we go in, they'll wreck your hall. We'll monitor it and get them on the way out, which they did, but it was a heck of a mess.
Wow.
Yeah, but luckily, no massive damage, but it could have been a lot worse. But as I say, you tend to take people on somewhat on trust. You've had them before and it's been a bit messy, but oh no, we'll clean up fine this time, promise.
I think, Sean, God, I dread to think how many years now me and you have been on that committee, but I think in all that time we probably have 3 events that was serious headaches. One, a class of teenagers put it on Facebook, thank you very much, kids, and 2 weddings where they went a bit awry. There was the wedding from hell, and then the other one which was just an absolute mess. The poor groom the day after hung over as hell trying to sweep 2 tons of straw out of our village hall. Was quite a funny thing to see, but we haven't had, and that's in 17 years, something like that.
Yeah, we've not had major damage or anything.
Could I ask a question about?
They don't tidy up themselves.
Go on, Wendy.
Could I ask a question about Just Giving? I know it's moved off the subject of banking a little bit, but has anybody used Just Giving to raise funds for their hall?
No.
No.
So our church did. They had some flagstones nicked, and so they used it for that, and were quite successful.
Yeah, I mean, because we're doing a fundraising for our driveway at the moment and to purchase the land. So we've got a Just Giving campaign that's been set up by the subgroup. I'm the treasurer at the village hall, and they weren't really sure of the full details. They thought there was an admin charge of £18 a month, but then some of the donations then had a deduction made off them, 1.9% plus 20 pence and different calculations. So I just wondered, is that classed as an expense, that deduction, because it's an admin charge? Because I did my accounts and presented them at the committee meeting last week and was kind of told, well, we've never had that money, so you don't need to record it in any way. But we had a local business donated us £5,000, but after Just Giving had taken their fees, it came to 4,944. So they'd taken £55 off us. Would people consider that to be, I don't know how many treasurers we've got around the table, is that an expense in?
I'd consider it an expense.
It depends. Do you pay PRS and PPL?
Yes.
Oh no, they exclude donations anyway. Well, Teresa's the most financially qualified, and she says she would. So.
Yeah, I put it down that I added up these donations we'd had, and then the deductions taken by Just Giving added up to £60-odd. So I put that as I kind of worded it that it was an expense. It was an admin fee at source, because the people gave us the money in good faith.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
And then Just Giving didn't give it all to us because they took a percentage.
I mean, they've still lost the £5,000, so that has gone from them, which I think is the number you have to record as an income. And then,
that's what I'd done, but there was a little bit of hoo-ha, and well, we've never seen the money, so.
But on the other hand, the people who've given the money, whether it's 5,000 or a fiver, they would think that they were giving that total amount, and therefore you need to be able to justify it to them that unfortunately that's what Just Giving do.
Yes. you know, and it might be there on the screen when you know, go on to Just Giving, it might say there will be a deduction made from this money, so that the donor is aware that there will be a deduction made.
It usually says, doesn't it? Because you can usually change how much. It usually says, you know, you're giving £5 and plus whatever, and it adds it in, and then you've got the option to change it. So
that's right.
And you can gift aid it.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. So we might get some money from the gift aid element of it, but there was a lot of confusion as to, we were told initially it was going to cost £18 a month for the Just Giving as an admin fee. And then there wasn't going to be any deductions from any donations. But then in April, that was in March, in April, we didn't get the £18 charged, but we're still getting these deductions. And there's so many different ways of setting it up. And I don't think when it was set up, we were 100% behind how it works, the different campaign pages, QR codes, whatever. But I just put it that it cost us £61 to you for those donations. That's how much was deducted.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like it's Just Giving to the Just Giving organisation.
Yes. And could I ask another question as well that's treasurer related? So again, a little bit off the subject maybe, I appreciate that. But proof of any transactions. So we had a gentleman donate £1,000 to us in a cheque, which got banked, and at the post office you do tend to get a little receipt. That's not available to me as the treasurer. It was banked by somebody else. I like to see a little receipt, paperwork for all transactions. Am I right? I wouldn't just rely that it's in the bank on a bank statement, would I?
Yeah.
No, I would want to see it.
No, I'd be perfectly happy just seeing it as a line item on a bank statement, me and the person. If it's money coming in, I'd be perfectly happy with that. If it's money going out, different matter.
When you bank at the post office with a cheque,
yes,
they give you a receipt, but it doesn't have the amount on it. It just has the date.
That's right.
So you could have banked 1,000 or 50,000. It doesn't. The bank. It's only when you bank cash it puts the actual amount.
Yeah, you're quite right. Yeah, you're quite right.
You know, you're not really helping clarify things.
Yeah, your bank statement is as good as anything, isn't it?
But it's just I like to see.
I know. I understand that.
For each transaction.
If it's on in the account, that's it, isn't it?
Why, Wendy? Why do you like to see a piece of paper? For
I think I'm just to support that transaction. I don't know why. It's just maybe a bit OTT, but I just like to know.
If you move to electronic banking, you'll be having fits and sleepless nights if you move to electronic banking.
We do have electronic banking, you know, but
you just get, you know, if somebody pays for their hire by banks, all you see is the thing on the bank statement.
Yeah. If you have an audit trail via the account statements, that's it, isn't it? You don't need anything else, really.
Right.
I mean, what I object to is when somebody organises an event for a village event and then they pay off people who've come to play music or something. And I had one of our very, very reliable chaps, and he said, "Oh, well, I've got 500 quid here. I'll give the music man 300 or whatever we owe him, and the bouncy castle this." I said, "You can't do that." I said, "Nothing moved in this account unless it has an audit trail and it goes through the bank." I said, and anyway, he's reformed character now, so that's all right. But you know, he thought he was being helpful. I've got the cash. I'll pay him out now. It's always a bit cheaper.
Wendy, surely you must have somebody, an accountant, looks at your accounts, don't you, at the end?
Yes.
Yes, we have somebody.
Just ask them what they think.
Yes, but they
If they want a bit of paper, well, okay.
No, I'm sure they
don't give them any paper. I just summarise the accounts at year end.
Yes.
And present him with that.
Yeah.
He's an ex-bank manager. He checked them last month.
Yes.
We pay a fortune to have ours go to the accountant.
Oh no, we have somebody in the local accountant's office, and they do charities and things for nothing in Garstone. So you just because it's not a full audit, is it? It's making certain it all balances properly and that sort of thing.
But I never provide them.
I'm curious on two fronts. What's your turnover? And
yeah,
what's your accountant fee?
Well, that's exactly right. Yes. So
What
It
is your
must
turn?
reflect the turnover, mustn't it?
Well, yeah, so if you're taking in 15 million a year, maybe
No,
the
it's-
rules are different. I don't know.
Do you know, Eileen?
I know our turnovers roughly, give or take, pre and post COVID, 45 to 50k, and I think our accountant is something like 300. Auditor.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Right, I can't remember what we paid, but we pay
But
more.
ours is just an auditor. We do not have an accountant. I am
Yes.
very, very aware that we have the great God Richard. Long may he live. And if anything happened to Richard, then God help us, we would probably have to consider getting an accountant.
Yeah.
Richard just does it all. He's fantastic, utterly fantastic. The same way, Teresa, that you were for your. I mean, village halls have people like Teresa and Richard and don't do accountants. But...
So when you submit your accounts, you submit all your receipts and all your invoices. So no,
Well, I presume so. I'm not the treasurer, so
right,
but I
sorry.
think everything goes as far as I know.
I did.
I think it's great.
Yes, I'm no longer a village hall treasurer, but I was for 18 years. And ours was done by a local accountant who charged a professional fee, but donated that back. So that there was a professional relationship, but she didn't want any money transferring. Yeah. So as I said, she just gave it as a donation, but you then have that professional integrity and a professional signature.
I've got gift aid on.
Yeah, she would want to see it, and she would ask. I mean, we had a very friendly relationship, and I would do some bookkeeping work for her, but she would grill me, and which I found I was a lot more comfortable about.
Sure.
I would much rather be asked the awkward questions at the independent examination rather than find that you've got a problem further down the line.
It's reassuring for you, isn't it? And educational as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed.
Right. Anybody got any final?
I think that's been very useful, actually.
Okay.
Can I just ask, just before we go, about savings accounts? Because we've had a fixed rate just matured, and we're looking for somewhere now for a good savings accounts for charities.
Well, our Santander, we have a current account and two savings accounts. One we receive monthly interest, one we receive annual interest. But these were set up many, many years ago, and we've just continued with them.
Okay.
We have ours with Santander as well. We set them up at the same time as setting up the current accounts. The interest isn't anything to write home about, but it's not insignificant. It's not nothing.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Smashing. Thanks.
And hopefully it's getting a bit bigger now.
Well, yeah, going the right way, isn't it?
It's not the rate it should in my whole facts for you. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any other lurking questions there, or are we all done and off out to enjoy the lab?
We're done.
Well, happy.
Very interesting.
Yes,
Right.
lovely. Thank you. Very
Thank
pleased.
you very much, everybody, and
Okay.
see you at the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Right, close down.